Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the latest crypto market report. It's from Crypto Deep Dive. This is the stuff that gets us retail investors, all the crypto folks out there excited. It's like, I don't know, like getting a backstage pass to the craziest financial show on earth. Bitcoin's hitting these wild numbers. There's a big legal fight going on. And the big institutions, they're making some serious moves.
It's a wild time to be watching crypto, that's for sure. This report, it's from November 11th, 2024, and it really, I think it captures the energy, the volatility that crypto is known for.
Right. So let's get the big picture first. The global market cap, it's sitting at a huge $2.87 trillion. That's up, get this, 4.41% in just one day. And the trading volume, oh man, it's over $258 billion, a 47.01% increase. So what does all that tell you about where the market's at right now?
It's basically a giant green light for the bulls. We're seeing like rivers of money flowing into crypto, and that's pushing those prices up. The thing that really jumps out at me, though, is that over 90% of that trading volume, it's coming from stable coins. What does that tell us? People want stability. Even with all this craziness going on, it's like they're trying to hedge their bets,
Stable coins, the quiet players in all of this.
Yeah.
But okay, we can't talk crypto without talking about the big B, Bitcoin. It's still dominating, 58.35% dominance, and it's actually gone up, even with all these other coins popping up. What's the secret to Bitcoin staying on top?
Well, it's a few things. It was the first one, right? First mover advantage. People see it as the most secure, the most decentralized. And it's the name everyone knows. It's basically become synonymous with crypto itself. Plus, there's the big news. Bitcoin just smashed its all-time high. It's over $84,000.
I can practically hear people celebrating, and maybe a few people panicking too. That's a crazy jump. This report mentioned something about $180 million in short liquidations. What happened there?
Oh, that's when people bet against Bitcoin. They thought the price would go down, but then it shot up instead. So they had to scramble and buy Bitcoin to cover their losses, which of course just pushed the price even higher. It can get kind of wild.
So are we officially in Bitcoin mania territory? The report mentions this euphoria zone and something called the MVRV ratio. Is this a sign that things are getting a little too out of control?
Well, euphoria zone is basically, it describes the mood when prices are going crazy and everyone thinks they're going to get rich. The MVRV ratio, that's a way of comparing Bitcoin's market value to its realized value. The interesting thing is, even with the price so high, the MVRV ratio says maybe it's not totally inflated, It doesn't mean a correction can't happen, but it's not necessarily a bubble, at least not yet.
Okay, so maybe not a bubble, but definitely some bubbly enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not all good news in crypto. The report also talks about some legal trouble. Remember FTX? Well, the bankruptcy estate is suing Binance and the former CEO, Changpeng CZ Zhao, for like a massive $1.8 billion. What's going on there?
Okay, so this lawsuit, it comes from a share repurchase deal. Back in July 2021, it involved FTX token, FTT, and also BNB and BUSD. FTX, they're saying Binance basically got this transfer of funds that was fraudulent, because FTX was already in trouble, insolvent at the time.
Wow, $1 billion lawsuit. That's serious stuff. This could have a ripple effect, like a big wave across the whole crypto industry. We'll have to see how it plays out. But hey, on a more positive note, remember all the talk about big institutions like dipping their toes into crypto? Well, it looks like they decided to just jump right in. U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs, they saw a record inflow of $1.37 billion on November 7th.
And get this, BlackRock's IBIT fund, that's just one Bitcoin ETF they saw, like $1.12 billion come in one day. That's not just dipping their toes, that's a whole cannonball into the pool.
So does this mean Wall Street's finally saying, okay, crypto, you're legit?
It's a pretty big sign that, yeah, they're starting to see crypto as a real asset class. And it's not just Bitcoin either. Ethereum ETFs, they also saw a lot of money come in on that same day, like almost $80 million.
Ethereum, always a strong player. So with all this money flooding in, what's happening to all the crypto-related stocks?
They're riding the wave too, of course. Companies like Coinbase, MicroStrategy, all those tied to crypto, they're seeing big gains. It's driven by Bitcoin's record and the feeling that, maybe some friendlier regulations are coming.
And I bet anyone who bet against these companies, the short sellers, they're not feeling too good right now.
Nope, not at all. The people who shorted MicroStrategy, just that one company, they've lost, get this, over $1.2 billion. It's a pretty good lesson, Don't underestimate crypto.
All right, so we've got Bitcoin soaring, the big players jumping in, and this legal battle that could change everything. What a week in crypto, huh? But before we go any further, I want to get your take on something. What does all this mean for the future of crypto, especially for us, the everyday investors?
That's the big question, isn't it? We're at this really pivotal point in crypto, all this institutional money. It's like a stamp of approval, but it also means new challenges, more complexity. The key for us, for retail investors, is to stay informed, don't get swept up in the hype, but also don't get scared. Manage those risks and keep your eyes on the long game, the long-term potential of all of this.
Wise words. It's so easy to get caught up in all the Bitcoin hype,
Yeah.
the price, all that money coming in.
Oh, yeah.
But we got to keep things real
Yeah.
for the everyday investor.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, institutional money, it's a good sign. But it also changes things, Those big players, they play a different game than us.
So what's the move for, like, the average investor in this new world?
It's a balancing act. Don't let fear or, getting greedy control you. Do your homework, know what you're getting into, and only put in what you can afford to lose,
Solid advice.
Yeah.
And don't forget diversification, right? Don't put everything in one basket, even if it's a Bitcoin basket.
Exactly. Speaking of diversification, let's talk about those other coins, the altcoins. The report mentions some interesting moves, some up, some down.
Yeah. The altcoin world. Always something happening there.
That's for sure. We've got some tokens you probably haven't heard of making huge jumps. Act 1, the AI prophecy, Peanut the squirrel, even one called Pochita. It's speculation, hype, social media driving things.
It's like the Wild West out there, fortunes made and lost overnight. Good reminder that not all crypto is the same.
Right, exactly. And then on the other side, you got tokens like Vonch, MSTR 2100, and Bloodloop Shard, all down quite a bit. It shows you how volatile things are, especially for those smaller, newer tokens.
What's the takeaway then for people looking at altcoins?
Due diligence, that's the key. Don't just chase every new shiny coin that promises you'll get rich quick. You got to look deeper. Who's behind the project? What's the tech? What's it actually for? That's what matters.
Got to separate the good from the bad, right?
Yeah, for sure. Crypto's full of opportunity, but there's also scams, people manipulating the market. Always be careful.
Great points. And we can't forget about all the legal stuff, the regulations. The report doesn't go too deep there, but it's important.
Oh, absolutely. That FTX lawsuit against Binance, that's just one example of the legal stuff crypto's dealing with. Governments, they're still trying to figure out how to, classify crypto, how to regulate it. And that creates, both opportunities and risks for investors.
It's a reminder that crypto, it's not for the casual investor. There are risks. You got to stay informed, be ready for things to change. But if you do your homework and you handle the ups and downs, there's potential for big rewards.
Definitely. This market, it's still young. There's a lot of room for growth, for innovation. Approach it carefully, but with enthusiasm, and never stop learning.
Speaking of learning, I saw the report mention this market fear and greed index.
Mm-hmm.
It's at 79 right now. What's that all about?
So the fear and greed index, it tries to measure how the market's feeling. Is everyone scared? Or are they greedy? It goes from 0 to 100. 0 is pure fear. 100 is pure greed.
So 79, that means people feeling pretty greedy right now.
Yeah, you could say that. And it's not always a bad thing, at least in the short term. Greed can push prices up, which means, you can make some money. But too much greed, that can lead to, people making bad decisions. And that can lead to a crash.
So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. What should investors do with this information, this high fear and greed index?
It's a reminder to stay grounded. Don't get caught up in the frenzy. When everyone's greedy, it might be time to, look at your portfolio, maybe take some profits off the table, and maybe even keep some cash handy just in case things take a dip.
So ride the wave, but be ready to jump off if it gets too rough.
Exactly. And that's what makes crypto so interesting, right? It's always changing. You got to be smart. You got to be adaptable. You need a good poker face,
Well said. But as we wrap things up here, let's take a step back, look at the big picture. What are the main takeaways from this report, especially for our listeners, the retail investors, the crypto fans out there?
I think one of the biggest things is just how much interest there is from the big institutions. BlackRock putting $1 billion into Bitcoin. That's a huge sign that that the big financial players are starting to take crypto seriously.
Yeah, that definitely got everyone's attention. It seems like Wall Street's not so skeptical anymore, right?
Yeah, it's changing, that's for sure. And all this institutional money, it's going to have a big impact on the market. Could push prices up even more, but it could also mean more volatility, more ups and downs.
So got to be smart, got to be strategic, right?
Exactly. It's more important than ever for for the everyday investor to do their research. Don't just jump into things, diversify that portfolio, manage the risk. Crypto's not a game, but if you're prepared, there's a lot of potential.
Good advice. Speaking of potential, the report also talked about some interesting stuff happening with altcoins, some winners, some losers. Any last tips for navigating that world?
Yeah, with altcoins, be skeptical always. Don't just buy into the hype. Look for projects that are solid. A good team, a clear purpose, a plan for the future.
So no investing in Peanut the Squirrel tokens just because it sounds fun.
Well, maybe a little peanut for fun, but only if it's part of a balanced portfolio.
Right.
Remember, altcoins are super volatile, and there's a lot of scams out there, people trying to trick you.
Always got to be on guard. And we can't forget about all the legal stuff, the regulations, the FTX lawsuit against Binance. That's a big reminder that crypto is still, well, it's still figuring things out.
Definitely. The rules are still changing. That creates opportunities, but also risks. You got to stay up to date on all that, see how it might affect your investments.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into this crypto deep dive report, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I think the big takeaway is that crypto is here to stay. It's changing things. It's exciting. It's attracting everyone from Wall Street to Main Street. But it's also a market that deserves respect, caution, and a willingness to keep learning.
Couldn't agree more. The world of crypto is full of potential, but it's not for the passive observer. It's for people who are engaged, informed, willing to take the risks, and potentially reap the rewards. So keep learning, stay curious, and maybe, just maybe, you'll ride that next crypto wave to success. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive, everyone, and until next time, happy investing.